Hey guys, Scott from Tech Break here reviewing the iPhone 13. This one happens to be the Pro Max. We're gonna do an unboxing and a quick first look at the phone. The ultimate goal of this video is to help you decide if it's worth upgrading from your current device or not. So let's dig in. I'm not gonna cover a laundry list of every little thing that's different. You can go to Apple's website, you can view the charts, those are everywhere. What I'm gonna try to cover is, if I'm an iPhone user and I'm searching the web to try to see if I should upgrade, what are the main key things that are different about this phone from a user perspective that are gonna drive my decision as to whether I upgrade or not. Before we dig into what's new, it's helpful to understand what hasn't changed. First of all, the overall form factor and size have not changed all that much. It is a little bit thicker and a little bit heavier, so your cases aren't gonna work that used to work for the 12. But other than that, looking head on, you're not really gonna notice any sort of difference. The notch is a little bit smaller on the 13, but they didn't do anything with that extra screen real estate. And so I don't really count that as being much of a difference. It was to allow a little bit more room for more camera internals, which they did a lot of changes in. The speakers and microphone are still the same. And overall, they didn't do an overhaul on the phone. A lot of times you'll see them go from rounded edges to flat edges. None of that really changed. So what has changed? And I've ranked these items in order of importance, from most important to least impactful. First is the addition of cinematic mode. This may matter for some, may not matter for others, but I think it's overall the largest improvement over the prior phone, along with the other kind of camera internals. Cinematic mode is essentially bringing rack focus to the iPhone. If you've ever been watching a feature film and all of a sudden, because of the focus changing from one subject to another, it brings your attention to something different and helps tell that story, that's essentially what rack focus is, and that's what cinematic mode does. Essentially, it allows you to shoot in this mode where you can choose the subject that's in focus. It adds background blur to everything else, and then in post-production, you can take that clip and you can modify a couple of things. You can modify which subject was in focus, so it's capturing all of that data at the time that you're shooting. You can also choose the amount of background blur that there's gonna be, or you can take it out altogether. So it's a great way to shoot a little more artistic videos with the iPhone. It's not gonna take the place of a DSLR, but if you're just out and about and all you've got is your iPhone, it's a great feature to have. Couple notes about it, it's available in 1080p and 30 frames per second. It's not perfect, but in a lot of situations, it actually looks really, really good. And we'll cover some more details of cinematic mode at a later date. Number two is the camera system. It's worth noting that the Pro and the Pro Max both have the same exact camera system now, so it doesn't matter which model you buy, you don't have to buy the larger version just to get the better camera system. The apertures of every single lens have been improved. The aperture is the size of the opening inside the camera, so all that means is you're gonna get better low light performance and better background blur. They added a macro shooting system into the iPhone. Macro meaning really, really close-up images. The phone automatically senses when you're in macro range and it switches mode. You can see that when it does this, you lose the depth of field and blurry background, or bokeh as it's called, that you have in the other camera mode. You get a crisp photo, but it just looks awful. It's like going from a DSLR camera to a point and shoot back in the day. And finally, the image stabilization. The Pro Max models have had this in the past, but it's new to the Pro models. Number three is the battery. The battery got a little bit larger, 11%. It did make the phone a little bit thicker, but between a combination of the battery getting larger and the processor getting more efficient, you're gonna get about another 90 minutes of use time out of the battery. And then finally is the ProMotion. ProMotion is essentially the dynamic refresh rate. So not only does it have 120 Hertz, but it actually has 10 different modes between 10 and 120 Hertz that it switches in between based on the tasks that you're doing. It does this to help conserve battery. You don't need 120 Hertz turned on all the time. I know a lot of other phones have had higher refresh rates for a while now, but there was a lot of buzz around this, and I hadn't really even noticed the poor refresh rate of the 12. Of course, right after the announcement happened, I picked up my phone and immediately noticed Instagram looking like it was skipping as I scrolled down through it. The 13s are a lot smoother and faster. That's thanks to the A15 Bionic combined with the ProMotion. Again, the ProMotion isn't just 120 Hz refresh rate. The phone actually dials it up and down based on what you are doing. A few channels on YouTube showed clips where they handed the new phone to someone and asked if they noticed anything different. Honestly, a lot of them couldn't even tell the difference. My guess is, which has happened to me with other updates and features that came out, if you gave the new phone to somebody for a few weeks and then handed them the old one, they'd immediately be able to tell the difference. And I think that's a really good example of Apple understanding a customer's needs without the customer even necessarily knowing what they are. Once you go to the better refresh rate, you're not going to want to go back. Overall, should you upgrade? If you're a heavy camera user, I think it makes a lot of sense. The cameras are the biggest difference from the prior year. If you're just a casual iPhone user, I don't think you're going to notice a ton of difference going from the 12 to the 13. Now, if you're coming from something prior to the 12, I think it can make a ton of sense. I was at a concert last night with my brother, and he has the 10, and he basically didn't take his camera out the entire concert. He just asked me to shoot all the photos and videos and then send them to him. So in summary, if you're coming from the 12 and don't do a ton of photography, probably just keep the 12. Hold on to that, do something about the battery, either buy the case with the extra battery in the back or one of Apple's new battery packs. If you're coming from something other than the 12, prior to the 12, you're gonna get a lot better screen, you're gonna get the ProMotion, the better camera system, and the longer battery life, so it can make a lot of sense to upgrade. Another tip is I used to upgrade my phone every 2 years, back when you could basically get a free phone every 2 years, but Verizon and all the carriers really had it built into their monthly cost. Ever since they lopped that off or separated those two into your device payment and your plan payment, I found that it cost me about another $100 a year to upgrade every year versus every 2 years, based on what I'm able to get for my old phone and what I'm paying for the new phone. That's it for today. If you have any questions or comments, let us know below. If you enjoyed this video, found it helpful, don't forget to give us a like down below, subscribe to our channel, and stay tuned for our next video.